Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Esther Mokmariola. It is already the midpoint in 2018 and the reflective outlook already depicts Africa as a region with hot spots that have become home to mercenaries who have the resilience to strike at will. Think of buildings being razed down, lives lost, livelihoods destroyed, villages deserted with mass burials conducted in between. Then you have a picture of the situation that have plagued parts of Nigeria in the last 6 months. And so we ask, what are your thoughts on the latest wave of killings in parts of Nigeria credited to nomadic herdsmen? You can join the conversation and share your thoughts with us on Twitter at TVC News NG. We take a report now, and Africa Today will continue. Welcome on board.
The role played by the Hausa communities during and after the attack is highly commended, says an eyewitness.
The actual figure of dead people, apart from people that we've not even known their whereabouts, is 213. Where we did that massive burial was 67. If you go to Ginde Akwati, we have 37. If you go to Ruku, we have 42. At Shonong, we have 11.
One of the surviving victims, who lost 14 members of his family, including wife and 2 kids, narrated his ordeal to us.
He burned my mother, my other sister, my wife with 2 kids, my other brother's wife with 2 kids, 3 kids with other people inside. So we are helpless. And I can identify people. In fact, they are my neighbors. We are living very close by. Among them, we have Babangida Shadari. When the incidents happened, they killed many people in our village. The number of people that they killed in our village are 71 people. Even when
the leadership of the Birom Youth Molders Association had earlier accused the Joint Special Task Force of giving protection to some Fulani herdsmen following the declaration of the curfew by the state government.
Vigilante in Haipan, to be precise, as at about 2 a.m., made a distress call that an influx of herdsmen being accompanied by Nigerian military were moving from Bisichi to Fas. Bisichi is under Barkila, the local government, whereas Fas is another settlement of Fulani herdsmen under Jol community in Riom local government. So they were moving as at that hour. In short, it dawned on us that could it be that military are actually colluding with these people, even when a declaration of curfew has been officially made known to every individual.
We spoke to the police public relations officer in the state, Matthias Chopev, on the number of those who lost their lives, but the details given to us by eyewitnesses seem different.
At the time I gave the figure as 11 people. That was the figure we got from the divisional police officer who was on ground. And we discovered in the evening that the number was not 11 as earlier said, but the number is 86 persons. 86 persons lost their lives. 6 people were injured. 50 houses burnt.
Residents have been advised to remain calm and allow security operatives to get to the root of the matter. Funom Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
Welcome back. On Wednesday, the Special Military Task Force Operation Safe Haven paraded 3 suspects in connection with the latest killings on the Plateau that sparked national outrage. The suspects were paraded alongside 14 others who were arrested over the massacre of more than 86 people, mainly locals and farmers. Joining me in the studio on Africa Today, I have a National Publicity Secretary for the Middle Belt Forum, Dr. Isuwa Dogo, and incidentally, he is a public affairs analyst and a social commentator. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's look at the increased communal clashes in the Middle Belt and, of course, the parts of the country. I know you were here about the last edition we had on the program. We talked about, you know, the increasing spate of violence in that region. But let's look at what do you think could have propelled the increase of communal clashes over time now?
Please permit me to start by giving the condolences of our president, Dr. Pogo Bitrus, on the tragedy of yesterday on Lagosians. That is the fire, the fire.
The tanker fire.
The tanker fire.
Right.
The people of the Middle Belt wish sincerely expressing our condolences to those who lost their lives and those who lost their property. We sympathize with them.
Right.
And we are actually in pains. Thank you very much for this brief introduction. I'll come now to the question. You know, the question has been answered so many times. And there are some terminologies that I hate to hear. That we have turned that to say clashes or any form of misunderstanding. It does not exist in the Middle Belt.
So what happens?
What
is happening
exists
there?
is that we have terrorists killing us. We are running. They are running after us. There is genocide. There is complete determination to annihilate the people of the Middle Belt.
And why would why would that be?
That is exactly what we are wondering. Because when you say herders, farmers, it's amusing. Because before they reach the Middle Belt, they have passed through many farmers. So how can it be farmers' clashes? If you say, oh, these people came from outside Nigeria, they must have passed so many other people before reaching the Middle Belt. Now, if you look at what has been happening, there are so many questions you can't answer. One, how they get their arms. We know how much an AK-47 or AK-49 cost. How they plan their routes, how they choose their targets, how they are trained, how they are financed. And when they finish the attacks, the question is that, where do they go to? Do they evaporate? If they evaporate, where do they condense? And we can't see them. But I can tell you authoritatively at present, several villages in the Middle Belt are being occupied by these terrorists. So there is nothing like farmers, horsemen clashes. We simply have people that are on a mission of genocide.
So, but if this is the case, what has been done to address this situation that we keep hearing killings, you know, maiming of individuals on a daily basis?
The issue the person that you should be asking that question is actually the government, not the Middle Belt people. Because the purpose of governance, first and foremost, is to protect life and property. And we have 3 international organizations that have condemned and categorically stated this one now is not either from General Danjuma, as they were trying to crucify him, or from Professor Jerry Ghana, but it is from the U.S., and I have the papers here. U.S. condemns Middle Belt killings. Is that General Danjuma or Professor Jerry Ghana?
Can we have here, so we can
UN condemns this. So they have the United Nations, the U.S., and the Amnesty International condemning them. And they have categorically stated, like the Amnesty International, that look, it is a government-supported kind of genocide. Do you have a government that should support, encourage, in any form? Should a government be going for condolence visits? Should we have security forces being reactive instead of, being, just look at it, being reactive instead of being proactive? It is when people in their hundreds have been killed, then we have police deploying several policemen and soldiers deploying soldiers. And even those who were there, as the young man said, they were escorting terrorists to go and perform. And what still, when there is a curfew, when the curfew is there, should anybody be out when the curfew is during that period of the curfew?
Right.
No. So who permitted them? Why didn't the soldiers stop them? Where were the security agencies? How will these people, and when you say, oh, look, they came from outside, at whose invitation? Who invited them from outside to come? How did they identify they passed all the other towns and villages in the north and they came to the middle belt, that is the ideal place to come and attack?
All right,
if they are herders, and I earlier said, don't we have grass across before you even reach the middle belt?
Right.
And during rainy season, do you need to say, oh, look, they are looking for that? And no, I have to make this point because there is a lot of misinterpretation of what is happening.
Okay, I agree. But with this perception that you carry, terming those who perpetrate these acts as terrorists, there is a report, or rather, there is an incident that happened about 10, 15 years ago, where in 2001 precisely, there were clashes in the Plateau between non-indigens and indigens over a particular area of land. So with that in mind, seeing that there was a communal clash at that time, is it a possibility that it is what has happened that is scaling down to what we see at the moment? Or what do you think could be playing out here?
There were no clashes. That is what you say, testing the grounds, coming to see what can possibly happen. And we have it didn't even start in Plateau. The starting place has been southern Kaduna. And before they went to those places, southern Kaduna was at the receiving end. Take, for example, 2011, when there were elections took place on Saturday. The results has not been declared. That Saturday night and Sunday morning, our people were being slaughtered in their hundreds. Could you say that there was anything? What did they do? So it has nothing to do with farmers. The farmers that even go out to their farms now that are not reported, if you go out with your children or your wife or something, you don't return because they are killed in the farm and simply buried. Nobody is going to report that on the news. And it is happening on a regular, almost daily basis across the middle belt. When I say middle belt, I mean across from Adamawa to Taraba to Benue to southern Kaduna and the whole of the middle belt. There is I don't know whether you will say formal or informal war that has been declared on us. The truth is that there is a plan. Those who sponsor them, we expect that the security agencies should fish them out. Those where they get their arms, how they are trained. The theory of conspiracy presupposes the key into the aspect of saying flanning herdsmen so as to have maximum destruction of our people with less attention.
Right,
maybe if they have called them Boko Haram, the approach would have been different.
Let's hold yourself for now. We need to go on a very short break. You're watching Africa Today, and we've been looking at the latest wave of killings in parts of Nigeria credited to nomadic herdsmen. Now, according to Amnesty International, at least 1,800 people have been killed across 17 states across Nigeria from January to date, almost double the total death toll of 894 in 2017. Well, the Human Rights Watchdog says the figure include farmers-herders conflict, communal clashes, Boko Haram attacks, and armed banditry. Now, Dr. Isuwa, let's look at this issue where most of these killings are being, credited to nomadic herdsmen, which, of course, for some time seems to be the news of the moment. But it is a long history that those in the Middle Belt have good relations with the Fulani herdsmen. So why are we having this perception or this belief that any attack that we see on the news or social media is being carried out by nomadic herdsmen, which some of you say are quite different from what we hear them to be?
Well, I would say categorically, without fear of contradiction, that the use of the word Fulani herdsmen is the deceptive contraption to confuse and to deceive people, to make them believe the local Fulani herdsman is the one doing it. Those local Fulani herdsmen, the local people, I repeat, are also on the receiving end. The so-called Fulani herdsmen are the businessmen. They are the ones that will say they belong to Miyati Allah. The local Fulani herdsman does not know what is Miyati Allah. He has never heard it and will never hear it and doesn't have anything to do with them. And if you look at those so-called herdsmen, have you ever seen them with their wives and children? Have you seen the cows walking around with small baby cows and others? Have you seen them with the sticks and their hats? They carry AK-47. They don't even look like the local Fulani herdsmen. Let me give you one example. In southern Kaduna, Christmas last year, and I'm saying the name of the person so that you can cross-check if there is any doubts. There is one guy by name General Gora in southern Kaduna, and we had a program in his village in December. 1/4 of the people there were Fulanis. We were told his great-grandfather were so close to those people such that the grandfather, the son of that grandfather was even helping him in his schooling. And as it is at present, if he is doing anything, they will give him a cow free. And if they are doing anything, he assists them. We had photographs. If I had known this one will come, I would have come with the photographs which were in the newspaper at that very time. And I can still send it to you so that you can tell the world that, look, the local Fulanis that we have known, they are not the ones. I also can, if I were to have my phone here now, I will show you my photograph with Fulanis during the Easter period. This just in April. And we buy their nono and their everything, and they sit down in my house, and we joke and we laugh, nothing, no acrimony of any kind. But the criminals, the terrorists, they are keen into the Fulanis and using the name. They, 2014, when there was a clash, when there was a massacre in Sanga local government in southern Kaduna, I interviewed a Fulani man. He said that the terrorists came to their settlement. They stayed there for more than 1 week in the bush. They actually held them captives. They raped their girls and their wives, and they threatened to kill them. They led them into Sanga to tell them what to do. But you will see cows. Where do you get the cows? How is it practically possible to say a Fulani man doesn't have any family? It's not. And a Fulani man does not sell his cow unless when there is hunger or sickness. And an AK-47 that will cost almost 300,000. A Fulani man will take 6 cows in the north and sell them. The cows are not as expensive as, in here in Lagos as they are in the north. An average big cow will be about 50,000. So you need to sell 6 or 8 to buy an AK-47. Who trains them? Where do they have the training to use? Ask the soldiers. Let the soldiers come and tell us if it is easy to take an AK-47 and start shooting.
Okay,
and you determine your target. And you choose the target.
In as much as the Fulani herdsmen, like you put it now, are not who we
No,
have turned
listen,
them to,
I said
who
the
we
local
see.
Fulani herdsmen
Okay, the local
that are
Fulani
being
herdsmen.
referred to.
Okay.
I qualify what I'm saying.
All right.
The local Fulani herdsmen have nothing to do with this.
Fine.
These people are the so-called elite herdsmen who don't even know what it means to be a herdsman.
Fine. So how can we change? How can we change this narrative? Because in Nigeria now, any Fulani herdsman is being seen
that is
as
exactly what
as an
I'm saying.
attacker
That
of
is,
an average civilian.
no.
How can we change
that
this narrative?
That is exactly what I am saying. And we have told our people, don't see a local Fulani man and you go and kill him thinking he's the one that visited you. They are not the ones. The terrorists are being financed by the elite, the so-called elite Fulanis. They are the ones that own the cows. They have nothing to do with the local Fulanis. They are the ones importing the terrorists, the mercenaries that are killing us. They know themselves. And I believe if the security agencies know what they are doing and they are not professionally lazy, then they will know it. And I have said here that there are many of them occupying our villages. So you don't need to go far to get them. You ask, how did you come to this village? And go and find out if in those villages, those occupying them have cows. And how many cows they have. And they are staying there.
So what's the way out of this mess? Because
that is why I've told you the way out is to ask the government. Because if the U.S. government, Amnesty International, and United Nations have condemned the government on these kind of things, then you ask the government, what are they supposed to do? And the primary purpose of governance is what I have told you, to protect life and property. Without peace, there can be no development of any type, anywhere, any day. So, is it practically possible not to know how they came in when we have security agencies? What do our immigration do? What the customs, what do they do? The airports, the seaports, and all whatnot. They determine, they are the ones in control. So they determine who comes in, who goes out. They determine what comes in, what goes out. And they can't find out at any point in time. And how many of them have been arrested, tried, and given the appropriate punishment as the law suggests? Remember, a whole governor said he went out of Nigeria to a foreign country to go and pay those who were killing us. It is funny.
But out of this, from the way forward now, some are suggesting that perhaps the the restructure of the security architecture is key in terms of solving these issues. Do you agree?
Absolutely. That is, if the right people are put there. If the right people are put there, it will happen. And I have said not once or twice that there is either a failure of intelligence or a compromise of intelligence or a refusal to carry out what the intelligence community is telling the government. Whichever it is evil, satanic, and it will backfire. Remember, I stand to be corrected. Those terrorists will go after everybody, Christian or Muslim, exactly the way Boko Haram did. When we talk at that time, some people in Borno on the streets of Maiduguri, when Boko Haram started attacking churches, they celebrated and threw money and distributed it. And I said, look, any right-thinking Christian or Muslim, we must all come together to defeat this evil. If we don't, it will consume all of us. No Muslim will be spared by the terrorists, not to talk of Christians. So by the time they finish the Christians using this theory of conspiracy, they will turn on them. And that is exactly what happened in the Northeast. Right. It is going to happen in the same way in Nigeria. And no part of Nigeria is saved. I repeat, no part of Nigeria, not just the Middle Belt, the Southeast, the South-South, the Southwest, and even the far North. Because they do it to get sympathy of those people they believe are with them, but they are not with them.
All right, and we hope
even the people that are hiring them may be the first victims.
And we hope an urgent action is taken to these, insights you've shared with us today on the program. Thanks a lot, Dr. Isua Dogo, National Publicity Secretary for the Middle Belt Forum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Program. Well, it is now one attack too many in a country where residents continue to deal with the wounds of a conflict that may never heal. as herdsmen regularly go on rampage, leaving trails of sorrow, tears and blood in their path. The responsibility now lies on the government to rise to the occasion and deal with the ills of the social fragmentation and ensure that the authors of the ongoing brutality are held to justice by every means possible. And that is our package for today. But don't forget to join the conversation as usual on Twitter at TVC News NG, and also follow me for updates around Africa at Esther TVC News. On to the next one. I am Esther Amopariola, and always remember, Africa can only get better.